The 5th episode of the Book of Boba Fett is out, so here are all the Easter eggs, references, and other Star Wars connections I found. In Chapter 5, Return of the Mandalorian, the title of the episode itself is a reference to a little film called Return of the Jedi. And if you've got a keen eye, you'll see Din Djarin, the main character of a series called The Mandalorian, make an appearance early on in the episode, and then he just sticks around. Okay, no more jokes, the rest of these will be real, I promise. Although it doesn't look like it's a full ring, it's hard not to see the similarities between the space station Din visits and the Halo from, well, Halo. But Star Wars has also had similar ring stations since the 80s, like the Wheel. He delivers the head of his bounty to an Ishi-Tib, a species that first appeared in Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi. The hidden symbols guiding Din to his covert are shaped like a Mandalorian visor, and the final symbol is shaped like a mix between a visor and a mythosaur, a common symbol for the Mandalorian people. It's not called by name, but I assume Paz Vizsla heals Din's leg with Bacta spray. The Armorer explains that the Darksaber was forged over 1,000 years ago by the Mandalorian Jedi Tar Vizsla. That history was first established in the Star Wars Rebels episode Trials of the Darksaber. The Armorer also speaks of prophecies claiming the Mythosaur will rise up to herald a new age of Mandalore, but sadly it only exists in legends. That's a cheeky nod to the massive creatures that once roamed the planet Mandalore in the Star Wars Legends continuity until they were driven to extinction by Mandalorians, but I am also hopeful that this is some foreshadowing that we might actually see one later on in The Mandalorian. The Armorer claims Beskar is meant only for armor and not weapons. I've talked about how Mandalorian armor and gear and weapons are kind of a parallel to the Force before. Beskar is like the source of a Mandalorian's power, and just like the Force, it should be used for defense and never attack. Although they also say the Darksaber is made of Beskar, so that seems like bending the rules at least a little bit, but that can't pierce Beskar armor, so I guess Mandalorians are fine with it. The Armorer drops a lot of knowledge this episode. She also references Bo-Katan accepting the Darksaber as a gift. That can be seen in the Star Wars Rebels episode Heroes of Mandalore. But the surviving Mandalorians see her attempt to rule by blood alone as a curse that led to the Night of 1,000 Tears. They claim House Kryze lost their way, which is a reference to Duchess Satine Kryze and her push to make Mandalorians a pacifist people as seen throughout the Clone Wars series. The Armorer says she and others survived the Night of 1,000 Tears because they weren't on Mandalore but were instead on the moon Concordia. What she doesn't mention is that they were exiled there by Duchess Satine, and that backstory can be seen in the Clone Wars episode The Mandalore Plot. But that's basically confirmation that most surviving Mandalorians were probably members of Death Watch or other groups with similar violent views. We first heard of the Night of 1,000 Tears in Chapter 8 of The Mandalorian, but this is our first time actually witnessing the event. The large dome-like structure we see destroyed by TIE bombers is Sundari, the capital city of Mandalore, which can also be seen in the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. The desolation of the planet and the image of fallen Mandalorian helmets is very reminiscent of some of the promotional art used for Season 4 of Star Wars Rebels. And I feel like the KX security droid stomping around the battlefield has to be a reference to the Terminator series. The gift that the Armorer forges for Grogu being wrapped to look like the child's head is a nice touch, just a reminder to Din of what he has currently let go of. As the Armorer spars with Din and the Darksaber, she counts in Mandoa, the language of the Mandalorian people. Din says that the blade gets heavier with every swing, and there's some excellent thematic reasoning behind that, but it's also consistent with what Sabine learns about lightsabers in Star Wars Rebels. Kanan tells her she's not fighting with a blade so much as she is directing a current of power. Her thoughts and actions become energy that flow through the crystal and become part of the blade. Din's inability to effectively wield the Darksaber is a manifestation of the fact that he doesn't want the responsibility that comes with it. Not yet, anyway. Paz Vizsla Battles Den for the right to wield the Darksaber, and it's obvious from his last name, but yes, he is the descendant of Tar Vizsla, the creator of the Darksaber, and Pre Vizsla, who wielded it for much of the Clone Wars. Pre and Paz Vizsla are both voiced by Jon Favreau. During their duel, Paz uses a Mandalorian energy shield that was first seen in the Clone Wars and again in Star Wars Rebels. Later, we see another RX series pilot droid, like from Garsa Fwip's Sanctuary, but this time it's working where we first saw that droid model in public transportation. Which makes me wonder, did Din carry the severed head of that Klatooinian on a space bus to get to this station? As the public transport lands on Tatooine, gates can be seen in the distance. They're similar to the one seen at Nema Outpost on Jakku, but they were originally designed by Ralph McQuarrie for Jabba's palace. At Peli's garage, we see that she's got a new droid, and it's a BD model. I cannot describe to you how happy and excited that made me. That model was first seen in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order as the companion droid of Cal Kestis. They've popped up in comics as well, but this is the first time we've seen one in live action. Of course, Peli still has R5-D4 from A New Hope and the pit droids from The Phantom Menace. The poor BD droid is attacked by a womp rat, and we can see one later on in the episode as well, but those were the creatures Luke says he used to shoot as target practice in his T-16 Skyhopper. I used to think that was kinda messed up, but since one of them attacked my new best friend, the BD unit, I'll let Luke off the hook. I don't know if this was a purposeful reference, but the womp rat attacking Peli reminded me of the Velociraptor's first attack at the start of Jurassic Park. Peli offers Din an N1 starfighter as a replacement for the Razor Crest he lost in Season 2 of The Mandalorian. Of course, they were prominent in The Phantom Menace, and Peli mentions their affiliation with Naboo. She says she can make the N1 faster than a Fathier, the creatures seen racing around Canto Bight in The Last Jedi. She also says the ship can jump into hyperspace without a docking ring, which is technology we first saw in Attack of the Clones. Peli says that she dated a Jawa once and that they were furry. In the first draft for Star Wars written in 1974, Jawa was the name of the species that would eventually become Wookiees. For the actual production of Star Wars, costume designer John Mallow said that the Jawas were originally meant to be like little rats, but George felt that was too theatrical, so they pulled them back to simple black masks with light-up eyes. We actually get to see a Gonk droid charge something, and I think that's the first time that's been shown in live action. The BD droid's ability to scan and display objects in a practical way is taken straight from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. The Jawas deliver a cryogenic density combustion booster to Din, so now we finally have a name for the pipe that Han and Leia attempted to use to stop the trash compactor from closing in on them in A New Hope. Peli mentions that she removed the astromech port from the N1 because of Din's attitude towards droids, which was made clear in the first episode of The Mandalorian. But that little bubble has got to hold Grogu at some point, right? During Din's test drive of his new ship, he flies through some familiar locations from the Boonta Eve pod race in The Phantom Menace. That includes Beggar's Canyon, which was also mentioned by Luke in A New Hope, and we see the ramp Sebulba forced Anakin onto during their race. And the debris is still there. Nobody cleaned that up in 40 years? Din says the ship tracks as tight as a rail speeder. He basically means it handles so well it might as well be on tracks, but rail speeders were first seen in Rogue One outside the Citadel Tower on Scarif. His flight over the commercial transport feels a lot like Anakin flying over the Trade Federation droid control ship in The Phantom Menace. Din even tries spinning, which is a good trick. He's then pulled over by the New Republic, and one of the officers is Carson Teva. He first appeared in Season 2 of The Mandalorian, and he's played by Paul Sun-Hyung Lee, who is a massive Star Wars fan and has his own YouTube channel about his various fandoms you should check out. The other pilot, Lieutenant Reed, is played by Max Lloyd-Jones, who also played Luke Skywalker's body double in the Season 2 finale of The Mandalorian. Adding to all the prequel and pod racing callbacks, when Din returns to Peli, he says his flight was wizard. I love that he uses a term for cool that was probably more common when he was a kid during the Clone Wars. Peli says J-type pulse engines really tighten the old evacuation port, don't they? Evacuation port is my new favorite Star Wars term for butt, but J-type engines were used in several Naboo ships like the J-type 327 Nubian Royal Starship seen in The Phantom Menace. And that's everything I caught. I'm sure there's more to be found, so let me know what I missed down in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel to keep up with all our Book of Boba Fett coverage, and consider checking out our Patreon page for even more. We're releasing video reactions and audio commentaries for every episode as they release. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.